Hello, everyone. Welcome to Streetwise Live. I'm Cindy Edwards. In the late 1800s, over 100,000 prospectors traveled to the Yukon to try their luck at striking gold during the Klondike Gold Rush, which saw over 20 million ounces of placer gold mined from the creeks. Well, today, the modern Klondike Gold Rush has begun, with numerous gold exploration companies hunting for the source of the placer gold. Stifel analyst Stephen Sook is about to tell us about a gold company leading the Yukon's modern gold rush with a top prospector at the helm. And we are joined now by Stifel analyst Stephen Sook, and from White Gold Corp, we've got CEO David D'Onofrio and technical advisor and co-founder Sean Ryan. Welcome to all of you, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Stephen, I want to start with you. Why should investors invest in gold now and ultimately white gold?
Well, I think the first point is we're still dealing with the effects of the massive amounts of quantitative easing from the Fed over the last 2 years. That's still going on, by the way, and really how that drives inflation. The real question now is, can rate hikes keep up with the pace of inflation? And I really think that dynamic falls in favor for gold as a real asset outside the current fiat system. The Fed has a limited pace it can move at, but inflation kind of has a life of its own. Global economy is on a recovery trajectory, but it's also likely to happen in fits and starts, and gold's a really good place to be while you have that sort of dynamic more broadly. So moving on to white gold specifically, the team has a proven discovery method based on soils in unglaciated terrain that really works well for discovering deposits across their property package. They've got a large land package and can apply this method in one of the most prolific placer gold camps on the planet, trying to find the source of all that gold that came out in the 1800s that you mentioned. They have a great track record of discovery, and I'm sure there's more deposits just waiting to be found right across the whole property.
All right. Now, Sean, what drew you to the Yukon to explore for gold?
Actually, I came up in 1989 when actually the super flow through and the exploration road crashed. And then actually, I came up here actually looking for wild mushrooms. I did that for about 8 years. And then in 96, me and my wife, Kathy, decided to actually take off our mushroom hat, picking hat, and then go into actually being a prospector. And then one thing led to another, but the Bre-X hit in 97. So that gave us a lot of time to research because everybody left the bush. But that's pretty well when we started, was in 96, kind of looking for the source of where the placer gold came from.
And no regrets, huh? You've done pretty well for yourself.
Well, the irony is the Yukon is kind of like a virgin country for exploration. And we applied this new technique, which was just deeper soils, that allowed us to basically see the subsurface. Because it was unglaciated, the response from deeper soils worked really well. But you had to do it in like thousands of soils. So eventually you started mapping out these mineralized systems because there's hardly any outcrop in this area.
Well, your patience and hard work has paid off. All right, David, why is White Gold such a unique gold company, and what's been going on recently with the company?
Well, I could give you a short answer and say, look who's created this company, look who's backed it, and kind of these guys have all done it before tremendously successfully, and you can take their word for it. But I don't think it would be fair not to share the details of what makes this company so exciting. And you're right, it is very unique. I've been in this business for quite a while, and it's truly one of the most unique, exciting opportunities that I've seen. And I've been fortunate in the past to have been involved with a number of highly successful companies that have gone from grassroots discoveries to billion-dollar type acquisitions. And what I've learned in that time that there's certain characteristics amongst these companies that have really helped drive that success. And when I look at White Gold, it really seems to have the majority of these characteristics. You see, when you have a gold exploration company, ideally you need to for it to be successful, you have to make a discovery, delineate a deposit. That needs to be economic, and you want to do this somewhere where there's a supportive mining law in place to help you advance that deposit. And if you're fortunate enough to do this, which is very difficult, it takes 5 to 10 years and tens of millions of dollars. And so here's the beauty of white gold, or at least part of the beauty. White gold's already done that. We have the benefit of Sean and his research and the success, and this is now all wrapped up into white gold. And we've been able to attract over $100 million of investments by some of the best people in the business to advance that effort. And where that's brought us is to a position today where we have a very robust deposit, over 1.8 million ounces across all the categories, great grades. And that on its own makes for a fantastic exploration company to be invested in. But that's really only part of the story. And the more exciting part of the story, I think, for all of us, is that this happened to be done in a prolific district that's seen as 20 million ounces of placer gold right from the surface, but really hadn't seen any modern day exploration until Sean and his team started doing their thing. And in a very short order, we're able to come up with significant discoveries that were taken out by majors for hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, this is almost an unheard of precedent, and kind of speaks to the true prospectivity of the area. And where this sort of gets really exciting with our company is this success has led the team, and given them the confidence to go and now consolidate the majority of the best properties within the district. And they've compiled within White Gold a portfolio that's over 1 million acres. That's like 4,000 square kilometers or 1,500 square miles in what they believe is a district where they're just literally scratching the surface. So if you will, you can look at it as, imagine being able to tie up 1,500 square kilometers, 1 million acres of a top global gold camp 75 years ago, like the Nevada Goldfields or Timmins or the Abitibi. Like, what would that be worth today? And the reality is that would be worth billions of dollars. And that's sort of what we think we now have within White Gold, and we're working to advance this type of opportunity. And so within White Gold, you now have the best of both worlds. You have a very robust deposit, and you also have this very exciting blue sky opportunity.
A lot of potential.
The company is a super junior.
Okay. All right. Now, Sean, I've got a two-part question for you. You've recently made a world-class new discovery at the Betty property. Can you tell us a little bit more about the history of that property and why this year's drilling success is so significant? And how does this compare to your previous discoveries at the Golden Saddle and Coffee deposits?
Yeah, the Betty was staked in 2010 when the big gold rush, like we had a mini kind of gold rush in 2009 and 10 and 11. So we picked that up. You can see it's just basically on, it's just east of the coffee project that we had staked, that I was working on, that I sold to Kamenak. But the idea was that it was kind of the tail end of the market. And there was one company that drilled some RAB holes or some RC holes in it and hit some nice targets, like 42 meters of 2.5 grams and maybe 3 meters of 29 grams. They hit another hole. So they had some nice holes and some nice smoke in there, but they packed up and left. And then ironically, nobody ever came back. And then I positioned it with White Gold by 2016. And then we drilled their first hole in 2018. And that was 50 meters of 1+ grams in a RAB, a rotary air blast drill hole. And then we just hit it for the first time this year with the diamond drills. And that led to this 50-meter hole of 3+ grams. And these kind of holes, we do see them, not that often, but when we do see them, they're usually associated with a deposit, such as the White was around 50 meters of 3 grams, same tenor. Then the next hole was 100 meters of 3 when they drilled that the next year. And same with the Coffee, it was about 33 meters of 5 grams. That was one of their better holes. So when we get this 50 meters of 3 gram interval, that's telling me that there's a lot of juice going through that rock and it dumped a lot of gold. So there must be more to this story, and that's what we're going to uncover next spring.
All right. Now, Stephen, what do these results mean for investors?
This is a really significant new discovery on the White Gold property, as Sean mentioned, right along the same structure that hosts Newmont's Coffee deposit. With those sorts of grades, it really gets me excited. My background is as a mining engineer, and when I see 50 meters of 3.5 grams per ton, all but from surface, I just think economic. So in addition to showing that there's a high grade in the system, which there certainly is, the drill results also gave the team a lot of great geologic information. The details we won't go into right now, but that sort of information really does allow the team to target better and wider within the property. So, there's a few different mineralizing events going on. When you dig into the details, that's a great indicator that there's a deposit in the neighborhood close by. I've always liked the targets on Betty, and I'm really excited to see what comes out of them next year on kind of the follow-up from these initial great results.
All right. And Sean, what would you say is the most exciting thing for you about White Gold going forward?
Well, it's really the proof and concept that we originally came to the table with, was that there's got to be more of these beasts out there, like these deposits. And so now, hitting the Betty and the first signs of it, that we might have another one sitting there, kind of brings proof to the pudding that the White Gold portfolio is one of the best portfolios in the Dawson district. And we're just still beginning to scratch the surface, in a sense, from an exploration point of view. So it's kind of we're still looking for Easter eggs. Like, we're like a bunch of 8-year-olds looking for these eggs, and they're still out there. And I think this is just the beginning for, what I'm hoping is the next 15 years of discovery under the White Gold portfolio.
Wow, it's an exciting time. All right, David, let's talk about your capital structure. Your shareholder registry includes some industry titans like Agnico Eagle, Kinross, Eric Sprott, Power One. Agnico has even increased their position. So why have they chosen to invest in White Gold, and how do these notable shareholders support the company's exploration efforts in the Yukon?
Yeah, I think, the reason why they've chosen to invest is what I alluded to earlier. White Gold is a very unique scenario of an investment opportunity. It's got sort of the best of both worlds here. And, truthfully, an opportunity like this is almost unheard of in this day and age, to be able to have such a large land package in a great jurisdiction with such a prolific history. So that's, that I think is, you can get a lot of confidence in that. Also, you look who the other major players are in the district. Newmont, the largest gold mining company in the world, is our neighbor. They own another discovery that Sean made and was acquired for over $500 million. Rio Tinto has invested in the district recently through Western Copper. That's another one of the largest mine companies. And these super majors, they do a tremendous amount of due diligence before entering. So that, I think, can speak a lot to our thesis and Sean's point, that we're really just scratching the surface. And for us to have the privilege of these, amazing investors to help us along the way, is fantastic. And they've been incredible partners. And, we're just thrilled to be able to have them. And this has also been reflected, I think, through a lot of the analysts. They see the opportunity. We have price targets at 270 and higher. Unfortunately, we're trading at a discount to that, and a discount to our peers on all metrics. But that's what led many people to see White Gold as, one of the best opportunities in the sector from a risk reward perspective. So, going forward, I think we have our best value creation opportunities ahead of us. We're tremendously excited, and we couldn't really have asked for a better situation to be in than we are right now.
Sounds like a good time for investors to take advantage of this time. All right, guys, the name of the company is White Gold Corp. You can find it on the TSXV under the symbol WGO. White Gold also trades in the US under WHGOF, and in Frankfurt under 29W. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for tuning in as well. Please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.